What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is the Gunner, bringing you people another special edition of the Coach Interviews. Joining me today is a man who needs absolutely no introduction, but for the sake of watch time, I'm gonna do it anyways. He is the 2016 VGC World Champion, a two-time back-to-back winner of the last two seasons of the WBE, who also, to my knowledge, very recently got a very talented, not to mention handsome editor. He is the coach of the Milwuakee Bewears, Wolfey Glick. Please introduce yourself.
You know, everyone always says, like, this guy needs no introduction, but nobody ever asks, does he want an introduction? You know? It's hard.
How's it going, man?
Yeah, good. My name's Wolf. Yeah, like, I do Pokemon, and that's my introduction.
And I have a very unhealthy clapping addiction. Yes.
My ender is quite good, yes.
Yes. But yeah, let's start this interview off with a very basic question. What was it exactly that made you become the Pokemon fan that you now are today?
Yeah, so I've been playing Pokemon since I was much younger, like probably 10 years old. And I kind of fell in love with the franchise when I was growing up. The way that I got into it was, I was like, when I was growing up, my mom didn't want me to watch Pokemon because I think she like didn't understand it or whatever.
Did you watch that Christian video about where they call it Pokemon is for Satans or something?
Yeah, I've seen that. Like, yeah, that's like ages old. I feel like I saw that ages ago.
Yeah.
But so like wasn't involved with the franchise at all. But I went to get my hair cut when I was probably like 5 or 6 at one of those places where they like have TV, so the kids will like behave themselves while they're getting their haircut.
Just
like it was kind of quick. I don't know if you have that in like other countries, but
no, we didn't.
A thing in the U.S. Yeah. Okay. So in the U.S. like. They have like, I don't know, I guess because kids can't sit still or, you know, I don't know. That's probably another discussion. But yeah, so it was on there, and there's an episode where the characters are in like a sinking ship, and that was like the episode that was on. And so my mom like was there with me while I was getting my haircut, and we were watching it, and she thought it was funny. And so yeah, like I was a big fan. I liked it a lot. And then yeah, ever since then I was a fan of the series. Not
bad. Same here, honestly. Like Pokemon was also a very intricate part of my childhood. And in fact, once my school, we'd have this annual sort of sports competition, and for us kids, once the whole team was based around Pokemon, so we were wearing Pokemon-ish clothes, and like during a presentation or a speech by the principal, they brought literal big balloons that had Lugia, Zapdos, Moltres, and had that 2000 teams playing. It was amazing. But yeah. Alright, now let's move on to the important questions. You've already won 2 back-to-back seasons here and are defending the title in the WBE. With the recent changes now being brought to this league, do you think things are going to be much different this time around?
Well, to be honest, every time the past 2 times I played in the WBE, they were different from each other, and they're different from this, because the first time, I don't know if like the viewers all remember, but I like wasn't originally a part of it. A coach dropped out, and then I ended up like taking their place, but like I didn't draft the team, which I think is part of the reason I had success, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, because the first time I did draft a team, it was in the GBA, and I drafted a pretty poor team, to be honest. It was not good.
Yeah.
And so that was like that was kind of me learning the format. And then the second time I was more comfortable. I felt like I had a really strong team. And now this time, the fact of the matter is, with so many coaches, like it really kind of changes the landscape of it, both because you get like the actual tools that you're working with are a lot more limited, right? Like you can't plan. It's much harder to plan a draft, and the actual Pokemon that you get are generally not going to be as you're not going to have as much to pick from, which is generally going to lead to a weaker draft. And another thing that I think that people aren't really like talking about is that we only get 10 Pokemon this time, whereas in the past we got 11. Which I totally agree with, by the way, but I think it actually makes a significant difference because the Pokemon that is dropped is from tier 3, which like I've gotten a lot of good value out of my tier 3 picks in pretty much every draft that I've done. And so the fact that now we only have 1 tier 3 rather than 2 to start off with, I think actually makes a pretty significant difference. And only having 10 Pokemon a week rather than 11, like it doesn't sound like a big difference, but yeah, I already prepared for my week 1 match at the time that we're recording this, and
Yeah.
having only 10 to use and 10 to prepare for it, it felt like a little like awkward. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely get you on that one. Like, from my personal experience, once like I went into this league tryout sort of thing, and we were only allowed to draft like 7 Pokemon, and oh my god, it was so freaking awkward. Like even preparing and everything, yeah, it was weird. But yeah, so now let's move on to your draft so far. Honestly speaking, you've had your fair share of oopsies in your transition period, switching a Pelipper on a Lantern.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've genuinely adapted so fast to it to the point where you've actually won the league's very first season. What do you think was it that helped you adapt this fast and become the player that you now are today?
The thing is, Pokemon is Pokemon, right? And even though singles is different than VGC, a lot of the same skills are still rewarded. So even though like I like starting off wasn't necessarily familiar with like the roles that Pokemon played or like the general like things that are kind of intuitive to singles players, like hazards and how hazards work, and the way that kind of the general match flow of a match is going to go around, like setting up and removing hazards and all that stuff, as well as sweepers aren't really something you have to consider in the same light in VGC, because like with 2 Pokemon targeting down the opponent's Pokemon each turn, like it's much hard. You like even if you get like a mon, like let's say something let's say Tyranitar Dragon is up, right? Like if you have a mon that resists Rock Slide in doubles, you don't really have to worry about it that much. I mean, you have to worry a lot because you're going to flinch, but you don't generally have to worry about it. Whereas in singles, like it doesn't matter if Rock Slide isn't necessarily like gonna be the threatening move, because they only have to attack once per turn, and so if they knock out each mon one at a time, it's a very different kind of threat. But with that being said, like a lot of the same skills are rewarded, a lot of the same positioning and being able to identify what the threats are, and preserving your Pokemon, and like or knowing which pieces that you need to preserve, and knowing like information management and like inference and all that stuff. I think a lot of the same skills are rewarded, and that those translate from format to format, from singles to doubles. It's just kind of learning the ins and outs. And of course, like I still have a ways to go. There's still a lot more. Like I could still definitely get a lot better, I think. But I think something that just helped me transition smoothly was knowing how Pokemon at its fundamentals works, and also the fact that I had a team that was kind of more one-dimensional. Like it was because it was a rain team. Like I still was able to do some cool stuff with it, but I had a pre-made strategy that I could kind of go into it each week, and that I think made it easier to learn, because it was I had less variables that I had to account for.
Poor Bob. But yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because like if there's something that I've noticed from when you started playing draft format to now, another thing that I think it's worth noticing is that you've displayed something that most people have a hard time doing, and that's adapting on the go. Like you use each passing experience that you have in each match, and it actually helps you, and you remember it, and in my opinion you apply it in your future matches, which helps you get better. So I think that's also another thing that that has helped you really improve in these past couple of months. So yeah, props to you, man. So
thank you. Yeah.
So just wondering, but what are your thoughts on VGC and the draft format metagames in general?
So Draft League is kind of like VGC, but in a like how do I explain it? Draft League is kind of like a very small microcosm of VGC, or like not a microcosm. How do I explain this? Like
I don't even know what that means.
Draft League is kind of like VGC but like simpler. It's like if you took out the really hard parts of VGC and made it a little bit easier, in my opinion. Not that Draft League isn't easy, is hard or isn't hard or is easy. I'm not saying that, but like. So the way that I prep for Draft League is you look at your opponent's team of, let's say, 10 Pokemon, right? Yeah. And then you have your team of 10 Pokemon, and you have to figure out which of your 6 Pokemon are going to be brought with the best odds of your opponent's 6 Pokemon, right?
Yep.
That's fun. That's Draft League. In VGC, you're doing the same thing, except instead of having a team of 10 Pokemon that you're looking at the entire potential format, right?
Yep.
And considering every possible set for that, it's just like you have to consider, or like every relevant set in a Draft League game, you have to consider like the entire metagame. And then rather than like looking at your team of 10 and figuring out which 6 you want to bring, you have to somehow figure out a way to bring like 6 Pokemon that can handle everything, or more specifically 4 Pokemon that can handle any combination of 4. That reminds me a lot of VGC, like just that kind of concept. It's like It's like VGC but simplified. Yeah, like VG, like if you were to put the whole format in a match, there's a lot of similarities. And in terms of like actual, like the way that I prep for top cut matches is very so the way VGC works is oftentimes, at least especially back in the day, you would play the first day of the tournament and then top 8 would be the second day, or top cut.
Yep.
And the way that I would prep for top cut, where you know all your opponent's team, like your opponent's team and you know your team, or you know some stuff about your opponent's team at the very least, at least the Pokemon, where you have to figure out how do I cover like every possible combination of things that they can do, given that they have these Pokemon in these sets.
Yeah.
Given the Pokemon that I already have, that's extremely similar to Draft League, except the sets, like the Pokemon are like you don't know which 6 they're going to bring, and also like the sets are variable as well. But the way that I approach it is super similar.
Right. Yeah, that's fair enough, man. Like I've heard about the stories that you've talked about, like while editing the video of yours of that top 10 VGC players sort of thing, about how you guys about how someone came up with this certain set to eat a Draco Meteor from a Latios and to stop and this spread that everybody started using, and to counteract it somebody ran something like a faint Hitmonchan, so that from that Hitmontop, from that into Draco Meteor actually knocks out that Latios. So yeah, I definitely find that very interesting. Like there definitely are some similarities here and there. And like even as a draft player, I personally think that VGC is definitely much more of a complex thing than draft format in general. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Anyways, I've already
also, just really quickly. I'm not saying that like I'm not here saying like VGC is better than Draft League, or VGC is like for people who like are smart.
Let people get mad, Wolfey.
Like that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you look at it from like a approaching the game standpoint.
Yeah.
Like I have a lot of fun doing Draft League, and I mean there's a reason that I'll like there will be long stretches of time where I'm playing Draft League on my channel and not VGC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying anything bad about Draft League, just to be totally clear. I'm just saying if you look at it from like a solving perspective, it's a lot easier to figure out when it's 10 versus 10, which becomes 6 versus 10, rather than unlimited versus unlimited. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. I hope nobody takes it the wrong way, but
just be safe.
Yeah, better safe than sorry. Anyways, I love how you're saying all of this to clarify while running Shedinja in your last VGC event. What's wrong with you?
Shedinja is really interesting. As an aside, like when I was using it, it was really cool. Like it made me think about the game in a way that I hadn't like thought about it before, because you have like your regular win conditions where like you just like knock out their Pokemon or more, but you also have this cool secondary win condition where if you knock out the Pokemon that can hit Shedinja, then you win the game as well. So you're playing with 2 win conditions while your opponent is playing with 2 ways to lose. And that's like that's not even talking about how cool it was. Like I did some cool stuff with Shedinja. Like it was really nice switching it into Kyogre Water Spout, and then like having Groudon on the field and having like a perfectly safe switch into to Water Spout, and then also using it as a switch in to block Tapu Koko Volt Switch and Incineroar U-turn. It was really interesting, like really complex. Anyway, I liked it a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why you're apologizing. I brought it up. Anyways, so I've already alluded to this bit before, but I want to know your personal thoughts on this one. With the initiatives being taken by this league that have never been done before, having a title this time around and whatnot, what do you think will be the long-term effects, not just for this season, but for draft format in general?
That's a tough question, and I honestly couldn't tell you. To be completely frank, I think that a lot of the next steps after this are going to depend a lot on how Sword and Shield go, and how that's received by the general community, the kind of interest that generates, the kind of support that generates for the game. I think that this is like a really good. I think that this gives the Draft League community. I don't know if is there a Draft League community? I don't really know.
There
I
is.
think that this gives.
Kinda. It's not that big. It's not as big as Small Gun and all, but it's still there. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I think that this gives Pokemon in terms of like a something that people want to watch.
Yeah.
I think this is like a very good platform, a really good base that we can jump off of. Do we jump? Is that what you do with bases? I don't know. This gives a firm foundation for Sword and Shield, but again, Sword and Shield is the meat of the main course, right? Like this is the. Sorry, how do I say this? Like, I'm really impressed with what everyone's doing. Like, I think this is like a super cool undertaking, but in terms of the long-term effects, I think they're too closely tied to how Sword and Shield go to really say for sure. I mean, I think that at the very least, this will probably establish a standard that is possible to pay analysts, which I think is really cool, and of course pay the artists, which I think is very important.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think how what the long-term effects are, I think depends a lot on how Sword and Shield go. But I think at the very least it sets a good standard, and it sets like my favorite thing I think about it is that it sets a standard like that, or it sends a message, I guess I should say, that like we don't have to just keep doing things the same way that we've been doing them. Not that there was anything wrong with the standard draft league. Like I had a lot of fun in season 1 and season 2, but I really appreciate that Dan is kind of trying to push things forward, right? He's saying, hey, like draft league is really cool and people really enjoy playing it and people really enjoy watching it. How do we take it further, right? How do we like 28 coaches? That seems impossible. Can we do it? And we're doing it. You know, like, hey, can we pay the analysts? Like that, you know, that's something that hasn't been done before, right? So I think it just kind of sets a standard. I like that we're not just stagnating. I like that we have people like Dan who are trying to push things forward, and that's kind of the sense I get from Dan in general. That he's like someone who likes to try and like push things forward, and that isn't just like doesn't just settle for like being good. I think I get the sense that Dan likes to really
take it up a notch.
Exactly, and that's something I really admire. That's something that I try to do myself, but. It's cool. It's really cool to see him doing it. So I'm hopeful and excited for the league, even though I'm not confident talking about the future.
No, I get what you mean, man. Like personally speaking, I've been a part of draft format since like Oras, and I don't know why, but ever since Gen 7 began, I definitely had my fair share of fun here and there. But the thing is, like, things just kept staying the same. At one point, because of the game not even changing one bit. Everything else that came after being like following the same standards, which is fine, don't get me wrong, it definitely wasn't I didn't feel those same emotions anymore, really. So to see all these new steps being taken is great and all. I just personally hope that Sword and Shield is actually pretty decent this time around.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see them definitely putting, Game Freak putting great effort in it this time around. Not sure about how Dynamax will work, if there's another gimmick going on, or if it will be a train wreck like the ambulance that's going through your house right now. But
yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. All right. Yeah. So let's talk about your draft right now. What are your thoughts that you have on the team that you drafted this time around, and like, are there any particular Pokemon that you're looking forward to using the most?
I talk about this more in depth in my draft analysis, but this is like when I was going into this draft, I like went in with the expectation that I was gonna have to make some sacrifices, that I like wasn't gonna be able to get everything that I wanted. And just because there was too much time and too many Pokemon were gonna be taken between picks, that I couldn't safely like plan out fully what I was gonna like a strategy. When there's only 12, 16 coaches, it's a lot easier to say, okay, like, you can go through and you can kind of rule out what people are going to take. You can like make an overall strategy. You can have multiple options. When there's what 50 picks between your like picks.
Oh my god,
that goes out the window. Like, you can't do that anymore. And so my strategy going in was, I'm just going to take the best thing that I can at the moment, and I'll build as I go, rather than what I normally like to do, which is build an overall concept, or at least a core, and then go from there. So overall, I really like my draft a lot. Like I feel like I'm missing some of the common typings, and I feel like there's definitely a couple weaknesses. Like my hazards, my ability to set hazards aren't as nice as I normally like. Like I don't have a spike user, I don't have a sticky web user, and I normally try to get those. And I don't have that many stealth rock users. I believe Excadrill and Jigglypuff and Golem are my only ones, and I'm not planning on bringing Golem very often. So those are like some clear problems. I do like that I have a lot of removal. But overall, I think it's a super solid draft, and I'm really excited to try out Blastoise. I'm really excited to use Virizion. I think I could do some really cool stuff with Golem and Duosion. I think Weezing is. I'm really Mandibuzz. I'm really excited to use Mandibuzz. I overlooked it the first few times I was going through the list during the draft, and I was like, when I saw it, I was like, wait a second, that looks really nice. And so, I think there's some really cool stuff I can do with this team. Obviously, I'm happy to use Tornadus again. I love Tornadus. I think Excadrill and Gengar can be kind of one-dimensional, but I still think they're like very solid. I think they kind of provide the power that rounds out the bulk on my team. But yeah, I would say Blastoise and Mandibuzz are the ones I'm the most excited to use. But I've always loved Virizion, but I've never really had a good chance to use it. And I'm not that excited about Gigalith. It looks kind of dumb, but I'll try my best with it. And I think something that my team does really well that I'm excited about was like, so the last time I used Tornadus in the APA, I kind of found like I didn't have that many defoggers or hazard removal, and so I kind of found like Tornadus was kind of trapped into using defog a lot, which really limits. Like it means that you can't run Assault Vest. It means that you can't run Hurricane, U-turn, Knockoff, and Taunt, which are all really good moves, or Heat Wave, or Superpower, or anything. And so
now you have the option with Mandibuzz.
I have Mandibuzz and I have 2 Rapid Spinners and Excadrill and Blastoise. Both of them will probably be coming at least somewhat. So even though like Excadrill is really frail and Blastoise is like kind of slow, it's still nice to have options like that. I don't have to run Defog and Tornadus every time. And I think that's really going to support it.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Like one thing that I really struggled with personally before would have to be the fact that the things that I would draft, I wouldn't be able to, use them to my best of abilities because they'd 9 times out of 10 they'd be forced to take a particular role, and that's because I didn't have any other alternatives that could take that said role, which really neutered its effectiveness. And like on the note of your squad being different this time around, I personally think it's a great thing because it's good to change up your style a bit every now and then, and with the things that you're trying out, you could definitely be surprised to see how well you could end up doing with a new style being implemented. I definitely like your squad this time around, and I do see it hopefully putting in the work. So let's see. All right, so who would you say is the opponent you're looking forward to facing the most this season?
I want revenge on Envy. There's no question. I also really hope I can play Aaron Zhang. But for Envy, like we played in top 8 of the APA, and I wasn't like super thrilled with how the game went down in the end.
Yeah.
So I would really like to have a rematch. Envy talks a lot of trash too, so I would really just love to smack him around. And he's beaten me twice, and once was like very, very close. Like he actually had Mandibuzz. And I like made a mistake and U-turned into it, forgetting about Rocky Helmet.
Right.
It was like even then it still came down to the wire. But like, and then the second time, there was some like unfortunate luck that didn't go my way. And so, I would hate for him to get the wrong idea because that it's 2-0 technically. But I think if we play this time, I can probably do it. I haven't even looked at his team, but now I'm mad. So
oh god,
good enough. And I would also love to play Aaron just because he's like one of my closest friends, and we didn't play in the GBA when we were both in there together, and I think it could be like a really cool thing having the 2 VGC guys. This is like it's just me and him who come from VGC backgrounds. I think it'd be really fun to just have a match with like the 2 of us playing VGC, but like not playing VGC.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, it's definitely also been a very impressive opponent so far, and I definitely think. But yeah, I definitely see you having the capability of beating him because you've definitely shown great improvement throughout these matches, and it's definitely gonna be down to the wire. I need to stop saying definitely. God damn it! All right. So to close this interview, I got one last question for you. What are your What are your overall hopes that you aim to accomplish for this season?
I want to go undefeated. I don't want to lose a single game. I want to win all 27. How many weeks are there? I want to win every one of them. I want to win all 14 weeks.
14 weeks. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's definitely a good objective. Oh
wait, how many weeks are there? Wait, that might be wrong. Hang on.
Is it 13?
There are 13 weeks. I want to win all 13 weeks, and then I want to win the whole tournament. I don't want to lose a single game. That's my goal.
Yeah, you definitely can do it. For sure.
Okay, let's calm down. I probably will not be able to do it, but I would like to. That's my goal.
No, I say it's possible because like the squad that you drafted this time around is actually pretty decent. So who knows? Let's wait and see. Anyways, that is going to be all there is to it for this interview. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video in any way, be sure to drop a like down below or comment or anything. Do whatever it is that you want. But yes, my name is the Uzi Gunner. His name is Wolfey Glick. Do you have any last stupid comments?
I want people in the comment section down below. Can they type bird up if they like Tornadus? And can they type bzzz if they like Mandibuzz?
Right.
Please.
Yes. Listen to your 2-time champ. Be sure to let us know if you think Wolfey Glick is going to be a 3-time champion by the end of this season. Either way, I hope you all are excited. I know I am. And with that being said, I will see you all on the flip side. Bish!
Bzzz.